Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
As I rise, La ilaha illallah. There is no person, deity, or thing worthy save Allah. He is the author, creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. All praise is due to Allah. The highest of honors to his prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to the forerunner prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to give honors to all grand bodies of the Moorish Science Temple of America. In this instance, I want to give honors to Temple number 19, the Office of the Grand Governor, the Sheik staff, the Vanguards, the Sisters Auxiliary, and everyone that makes up this temple. I want to also extend honors to the Grand Sheik as well. I want to give a special honors to all ills and babies. Islam?
Islam.
I want to go with what you were saying early. Basically, what you're talking about is, and what you were talking about, the brother was talking about, is how our names have changed. Our identities have been changed. We say that there is the oldest war in history, right? You know, some would take it to the higher self and lower self, God and the devil and all this other kind of stuff. But on the plane of manifest,
Islam.
it's always been between two rival entities.
Make it plain.
Europeans and non-Europeans, if we can make it plain, right? In that, you read an article that talks about European psychology. Right?
What's your college?
Now, for us, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is Prophet of Allah, without a contradiction, right?
Islam.
If this is a wartime situation, would he not be a general,
Islam.
Indeed.
right?
That's right. Fact.
Of some sort, right? And in that, would he not put his own psychology or an Asiatic psychology
Into play.
in play?
Islam.
Right? What is the common name that we give Europeans? Europeans, right?
Islam.
Right, this is the easy answer, right? You know how to do it. We're called Negro, black, colored, everything except for ourselves, right? But when it comes to a European, the prophet always sticks to calling him a European. That is not by design. Now, the prophet is basically saying that the power to define is everything.
Islam.
Right? And we have to take back our power to define. But notice he's taking away their power to define. What do they want to call themselves?
White.
They want to call themselves white, which would make them God, which would make them ruler of the land, right? What other name would they like to call themselves? Caucasian. They like to ride the Caucasian idea. Why? Because if they're Caucasian, that puts them in the Caucasus Mountains, put them closer to Noah's Ark, which makes them descendants of Noah. Boom, which makes them original man, right?
Majority.
You know, so in these ideals, the prophet is never referred to them as any other thing except Europeans.
Islam.
However, European is not a European word. The word Europe. The word Europe is a Canaanite word, Europa. He's taking away their power to define, giving them a title from us. The same way that they're doing, same way that they're trying to do us, we're doing them. It's the same thing. That's why we fight those census and those ideals and things like that. European will never be anything else except for a European. He doesn't have the power to define anymore. We're taking that away from him.
Islam.
Which, you know, and it's such a misnomer that to call us Africans would be wrong, would be out of place, right? So to call them Europeans, we just straight up call them Europeans. It's the same thing. It's a cover blanket statement that takes away their power to define for themselves who they are. These are tactics. You know, this is what a general would do, especially if you're not in control and in power. You know, so I'm glad you brought that up because that sparked something in me. It's like for all these things and all these ideas, all the fighting through we have to go through, it's going to be a point in time where they have to do that same fight. And we're going to let them fight their fight because it ain't for us to do. That's for them to do. All right? Islam. All right, so let's get to it. I was asked a while ago to go over a measure that I had done, and I want to go back into it and go back into it a little bit slower because I know I have a tendency to talk a little fast. It's the ideal of the cherub and the seraph. Cherub and the seraph. What do they represent? What do they represent in the Moorish Science Temple of America? In chapter 1 in the Holy Quran, it states, and this is page 5 for those that have this, where it starts, and these soul attributes become a body beautiful. It's that paragraph. It's, of course, it's in the middle of where it says, it should be chapter 1. Large paragraph, probably closer to the bottom, or actually, if you turn the page, it might be. Is that page 5?
Yeah, these are different.
Yeah, there. All right. Where it says, "Let every living thing stand still and hear." It's in the middle of the paragraph. Islam? All right. Let every living thing stand and hear. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yea, he must suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that the cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah, who rule the solar stars, are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. When man has conquered carnal things, his garb of flesh will then have served his purpose well, and it will fall, will be no more. Islam? So it talks about us being at a certain status and giving that thing away. And in giving it away, we have to regain it. However, we're not to regain this thing alone. You know, we think that every fight has to be on our shoulders, but there's a certain mechanism in place that guarantees that we cannot fail. All right. When it talks about, like I said, the cherubim and the seraphim, and let's talk about them and what makes them so important. We know that in the writings, these are the two that did not fall. Right?
Yeah.
The ones that always held their position.
Yeah.
So in that, you know, the question is, what are they? What are their functions? And what mechanisms do they activate? And is it a thing that is internal or external? And also, why would you look at it separately? Because sometimes it mentions, like in Moorish Holy Quran, chapter 11, key 24, it says, men call these either planes of protoplast, of earth, of plant, beast, man, angel, and cherubim.
Right.
And in key 32, it says, the angels and cherubim fell not, their wills were ever strong, and so they held the ether of their planes in harmony with Allah. So we're looking at, like I said, what are these things? How did they not fall? What do they represent? Like I said, and what do they represent for us in that? All right, so let's start with the cherubim. The cherubim, the reason why cherubim and seraphim are separated, or the cherubim and angels are separated, is because initially in Canaanite lore, cherubim were not angels. They were something else.
Yeah.
They were, I wouldn't say higher, but they were different.
Right.
You know. And in this, it said that these cherubims not to be called angelic powers, but rather some horrible visions of beasts, which might terrify Adam from the entrance of paradise. All right? Terrific beasts that will terrify Adam from paradise. So, all right, let's start off in the Moorish questionnaire. I'll start with in the 102 keys, 102s, as you know, those are the ones I prefer. Who were Adam and Eve? They're the ones who brought out the discord in the holy city of Mecca and were cast out. Key 61 asks, who is guarding the holy city of Mecca to keep the unbelievers away? Angels,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It says, what is the modern name of these angels? Arabian. What is the shade of their skin? Olive. It says, it asks, are the Moorish Americans any relation to those angels? Yes. We all have the same father and mother. And if you skip down to key 69, it says specifically what people represent the higher self. Not what thing or what idea, what people represent the higher self. And it says the angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. The cherubs, these beasts, and the reason why they kept Adam from the entrance of paradise, because when you read certain scriptures, it talks about a flaming sword that is circling around the tree of life. That mechanism, that thing, are cherubs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now remember,
Yes, sir.
they represent, and I go back and read again what it says. It says, they represent the stations of the sun, and they are the protectors. Right? In this, the cherubim are those who do the protecting. They're the ones that, when Allah gives the word, they're the ones with the swords. Also, it says they rule the stations of the sun. And we'll get to specific examples, because in the Piscean text in the Bible, it talks about two angelic beings, specifically by name. And we'll let you know which one is the cherub, which one is the seraphim, and how this thing acts and interacts. All right?
Watch out.
Michael, Gabriel.
Yeah.
Come on.
So we have the idea of Michael.
Come on, man.
Let me go to him. Michael ranks as one of the highest angels of all. In the Chaldeans, he is sometimes worshipped as a god. He is said to be in the highest order of heaven. I don't want to read everything it really says about him, but we'll stick to the more Asiatic versions. In Islamic lore, it says that he stands on the borders of the full sea of seventh heaven, crowded by a innumerable array of angels. So he guards the way in. When Satan was put down, in the scriptures, it was Michael. He's the one, and he is also represented as the one before an idea called Shekinah, which is an earthly angel, for lack of a better sense, the one female angel, the one who actually carries that flaming sword that's guarding the tree of knowledge. He was the one there before she was. Whenever it's time to come in and do what needs to be done, there's one person that comes in, he runs that whole thing. And that is this guy.
Islam.
Islam. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Islam, I just wanted to get what you were the actual thing
Text
you
I
were
read
reading
from.
Text, yeah.
It's a dictionary of angels, including the fallen angels, by somebody named Gustav Davidson.
Okay.
So what, the reason why you kind of have to go through this, because this person puts everything in there, and Europeans, when this information gets to Europeans, it kind of zigzags, and you have to kind of slow it down. Also, as it represents the stations of sun, I keep saying it over and over again, stations of the sun. Why is that most important? I'm sorry, Mark, I get to walking around and stand still for a while. When we talk about the station of the sun, we talk about this specific angelic entity, this energy. What most of us would think will be, this is a tough guy, right? Represents fire, does all this other stuff. However, in the station of the sun, it is called what? What does it say in religion? Key 2. It is Allah's what? Sun is Allah's noblest image.
That's right, that's right. Worship God.
Right?
Islam.
When the Prophet Noble Joe Ali says, you are the vanguards of the movement, he's talking about this same specific energy. And it's not necessarily always a rah-rah energy. It can be if it has to be. But what it needs to be is something that protects the temple. And it's not always might that protects the temple.
That's right.
Now, when the prophet said he gave us a mandate to do two things: protect what?
Prophet and tongue.
Protect the prophet and protect the temple. In one's noblest image, it is about how you present yourself. Right? Now, it's about justice as well. We're talking about something different right here. When you present yourself a specific way, when you rule the station of the sun, you are being the noblest image of Allah. That noblest image is usually the first thing that's seen when someone comes in the temple, right? Which is us that stand around. Looks like the most boring job in the world. However, it is Allah's most noblest image. Because everything is judged initially by who you are and what you are.
Islam.
Right? Now, any questions? Or shall I keep continuing? Now, also, they have a very specific name in Islamic law also. It is called the flame of whirling scimitars. Right? And in the Greater Keys of Solomon, they are the guardians of the terrestrial plane with a scimitar of flame. You see this same thing over and over again, the same ideal. And when he talked about the terrestrial plane, we're talking about the plane of manifest. Quite simple. Right? Now, that is a cherubim. Now there's an ideal called the Seraphim. The Seraphim is represented by the archangel Gabriel or Jibril. It is said is the highest order of angels as well, because this was the highest order of angels before the cherubim actually came in and became angels. It is said, to quote, it is corresponding to the four winds of the world. Now, what does that sound like? Let's go in our questionnaire. What is a prophet? A prophet is the thought of Allah manifest in flesh. What is the duty of a prophet? It's to save the nations from the wrath of Allah. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifest in human flesh. What are angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners to all the nations. What is our prophet to us? He is an angel of Allah, who is sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah. And what is the everlasting gospel of Allah? Saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient father by his prophet, right? So this is the station of the spirit, right? Like I said, I go back to it and read it again. What they do, what the seraphs do, is they continuously, 24/7, sit around Allah and they chant one thing: holy, 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 over and over again. It's a constant manifestation of the same idea. So it's Kudus. That's all you hear rotating all times, right? They represent love and light, and sometimes fire, if necessary. Let's get into Jibril as a representation. All's well?
All's
All
well.
right, let's make sure. Jibril is also, like I said, it says he's one of the two of the highest ranking angels in Muhammadan lore. He is known to have what? What is Gabriel known for? He has an instrument.
Oh, the horn.
A horn. Object of sound, right? So we have angels chanting constantly. We have this one angel that has a horn. In Islamic law also, he is known as the one who did what? He the one that came to Muhammad, massaged his heart, and told him, spoken to his ear, what? The whole Quran.
Islam.
Right? Beautiful. Also, all right, let's go there. Also, he came to the sister, Melchizedek's mother, told her that she was going to be pregnant. She popped up with him. He's also the one that came to Mary. You know I'm going on. Yeah, you know. The sons of God and the daughters of men, you know, that whole thing. You know, yeah, you know. birthed giants, right? I don't know if they meant it was giants or giants in stature.
Jebedians, right?
You know, so he's the one that came to her and told her that, you know, justice was going to be born, and he follows after that same idea. So in this is representing what now? You know, when you talk about ruling the solar stars, there's one other thing specifically. See if I can find it real quick. That it says about him. Yeah, it talks about him possibly being Jesus' father. Let's be for real about it. In this, I'll just paraphrase it. It said that Gabriel is the one that leads by his voice, right, at all points and times. We talk about a prophet. Now, if a prophet is the thought of Allah, he's also equated with an angel. He's also equated with the words. You see where we're going with this. So we have the station of the solar station. I'm sorry, the station of the sun and of the spirit. Also, Muhammad said that Jibril, when he came to him, was actually the holy brother. He said, "That's who you are to me." You know, so if he's a holy breath, and it represents this thing, you talk about holy breath, you talk about breath. He runs the station of air and spirit. Those are all the same things. That's ruach. That's the same idea. You know, breath is a spirit, right? So, so we're talking about a specific vibration here as well. When it says in Key 40 that what is a prophet to us, he is an angel of Allah who is to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah. Let's take it away from the prophet, and because the prophet isn't here right now, and let's put it in real terms right now. If the cherubim are to represent those who protect, then the seraph are the ones that you hear, the ones that give that divine warning. You know, because that's one thing that Jibril did also. He's the one that came and warned everybody before destruction came. It said that Sodom and Gomorrah, the one who was knocking on the door was Jibril, like, come on, man. And when they said no, he was like, all right, pillars of salt, and went away. He's always the one that comes first. And he represents that thing that comes first. Same thing here. The speaker is the one that's given that divine warning. That comes before those other things come.
Yes.
So these are functions that we have right now. So when I asked the question before, you know, what are these mechanisms to us? It's the mechanisms that we do every Friday. Not only that, we should be doing every week, because nothing says that a cherub can't be a seraph, and vice versa. So, you know, we don't just want tough guys.
That's right.
You know, we don't want spiritual guys that just warn. We want, you know, we have to be everything at all points and times. We don't have an option. We ain't got a million trillion people, right? So these mechanisms are us. So when we ask, you know, are they the gatekeepers put in positions like gods? Yes, they are. It's a guide for us to be who we are. Just like every week we come and we practice. Every time we come here, we're practicing those same ideals. You know, any questions?
Islam. I was gonna ask, who was the angel? You were talking about Gabriel and then Michael, and just I was thinking specifically, you said something about Gabriel and his sound and voice and stuff like that. I was wondering, and that took me back to the Isra and Miraj. Who was the angel that took Muhammad?
That was the brother.
And the first one he met was Michael.
Okay. All right.
Same story.
So,
So when he first was ascended, the first
Yeah.
person he met, when he, Jibril took him up, was Mikael.
Okay.
Who's standing there with his legion of army.
okay.
How you doing? Before you go up there, you gotta see us.
Yeah.
Islam.
Yes, there's a movie too. It's speaking. I think the movie was called Legion. It's a Hollywood.
Yeah.
Indeed, I was there.
But it's funny that you mentioned it because I remember a part in there where two of the people who were had the baby.
Yeah,
they were, and the angels were coming, and I think it was Gabriel had told them.
Yeah.
He said, once they come, they can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And so this, to say that Michael, once the order comes to him to bring that sword, ain't nothing stopping.
Turn back, right.
Ain't no turning back.
That's
Ain't no
why
turning back.
it's always a divine warning.
That's
And
what-
after that,
steps
back. So if, let's say we were in a situation where divine warning had to be given, at that point, the person at the podium steps back. Just, on a different type of vibration.
It's-
Vibration we'll never have to deal with,
That's right.
those sorts of things. So just know that every word that's in here, every idea that's in here, represents something that we're doing. Circle 7 may seem small and inconsequential, and these things that we kind of just blow past when we read. Sometimes let's stop, and because it only takes that's only a half a sentence. Was that part, and that there's so much in there, and it leads to everything else that breaks down in the Circle 7. Through all our Moorish literature, throughout history, throughout the ideals that we carry, all the way, like we even going back to Canaanite lore. We've already, we've touched Kabbalic lore, we touched the Keys of Solomon, just all these things that are ours from a half a sentence. It's a powerful measure.
Islam.
Islam.
Gratitude.
I'll leave y'all as I came in peace.
Islam.
Islam.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
حي على الصلاة
Allahu Akbar.